Hey guys, tonight we drift beyond the edge of known space, into a shattered empire, a forgotten inheritance, and the unlikely man fate chooses to rewrite it all. A storm of ash spirals through the orbital scrapyard, masking the stars behind curling clouds of static and rust. From his perch atop the fractured hull of an ancient alien frigate, Jalen Ward watches dead worlds pass like ghosts. His gloved fingers tighten around the plasma torch, its light reflecting off his visor like a dying sun. The void is quiet, but Jalen knows better. Quiet means the machines are listening. You probably won't survive this one. Not because of some lurking threat, but because you might fall asleep before you even realize how deep this story goes. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing who's sharing these late-night rides with me. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The wreck groans beneath his boots as Jalen descends toward the exposed core chamber. His breath fogs the inside of his cracked helmet. It's not the cold, just old nerves. The kind that never fully leave a man who survived 2 border wars, 3 mutinies, and 1 very personal betrayal. The signal had come in exactly 48 hours ago. Encrypted, ancient dialect, authenticated by an ID code long since purged from every Confederation database. The name attached to the message? Roth Halden, the last friend Jalen ever trusted. The only alien who'd ever bled for him. Problem was, Roth had died 5 years ago. According to the beacon's coordinates, this was where Roth's final gift waited. A derelict vessel that shouldn't exist. And inside it, something that would change Jalen's life, or end it, depending on who else was still listening. Telemetry spike, grumbled a voice in his earpiece. I'm seeing low-frequency pulses inside the core chamber. Could be a residual AI signature. Jalen tapped the side of his helmet. Copy, Kessa. Keep the engine hot. If I don't check in 5 minutes from now, burn thrusters and forget I exist. You always say the most romantic things. Static crackled and faded. Silence returned. Jalen hated silence. He climbed through a fissure in the hull, entering a corridor lit only by the dull glow of moss-like alien circuitry embedded in the walls. The ship was dead, but something in its bones still remembered electricity. As he moved deeper, old memories stirred. Roth had once called this place the Archive of the Bound. A cultural relic ship, half cathedral, half library, filled with encrypted blood oaths, neural song records, and one thing more dangerous than either, a living contract. At the core, Jalen stopped. The chamber pulsed with a faint, organic hum. Vines of biometal wrapped around a crystalline sarcophagus, floating above a ring of broken starlight. Inside, a figure rested. Tall, feminine, armored in ceremonial plating, but still, strangely peaceful. Her emerald skin shimmered faintly with embedded circuitry, like a dying constellation. Jalen swore under his breath. Not a sarcophagus. A stasis vault. And the woman inside? Definitely not dead. A single glyph burned at the base of the pod, Roth's sigil. A sign of legacy. Of transference. A legacy for Jalen. He stepped forward. The glyph flared to life, scanning his DNA through the air itself. Recognition confirmed. A voice whispered, female, ancient, mechanical. Executor of will identified. Welcome, Jalen Ward. You now hold the bond. And just like that, the stasis seal cracked. A hiss of air escaped. Her eyes opened. Not slowly. Not groggily. They opened with purpose. Violet and sharp, like amethyst cut from a blade. The woman sat up, her gaze locking on Jalen. You are not Roth Halden, she said, voice edged with suspicion and something else. Familiarity? Memory? No, Jalen replied. I'm the fool who showed up to claim what he left behind. The chamber pulsed once more. Somewhere, deeper in the ship, a beacon lit up. And across the stars, someone or something took notice. Jalen didn't move. Not because he was afraid, but because the moment demanded stillness. The kind a soldier learns on battlefields and in funeral ships. The alien woman rose from the stasis chamber, every movement fluid, controlled, precise, like a creature made for war but trained for something older than violence. Her long black hair tumbled down polished armor that bore no insignia, only lines etched in an alien script that shimmered faintly with light. She studied him. You carry his scent, she said at last, tilting her head slightly. The warmth of his memory. And the pain of his absence. Jalen didn't flinch. Roth was my friend. My brother in arms. He said if I ever found this place, it meant he was gone. A flicker crossed her face. Not emotion, exactly, more like the echo of it. He is gone, she confirmed. He died defending the bond. As did I. That's a hell of a statement coming from someone who just sat up. She gave the ghost of a smile. My name is Rayshira. I am, or was, his companion. Bound by oath, by will, and by choice. When Roth fell, his inheritance passed on. You are now the last node in the pact of flame. Jalen shook his head slowly. I didn't sign up for any pact. You accepted the glyph, she replied. The ship chose you. Roth chose you. And now I. She paused, her tone shifting. I serve you. It wasn't submission. Not entirely. It was something more complicated, wrapped in layers of honor, grief, and coded obedience. From his wrist console, Kessa's voice broke in. Jalen, I just picked up a long-range spike. Someone lit up a deep signal. That ship of yours, it's not sleeping anymore. Copy, he said. Prep jump nav fast route. Cold burn. No cold burn, Rayshira interjected softly. This vessel has been marked. If we leave now, we lead enemies straight to your people. Jalen looked at her. What kind of enemies? The kind who burn legacies to prevent succession. The ones who feared what Roth carried. She turned toward the far wall and raised her palm. A panel hissed open, revealing an interface that looked more like bone than metal. She touched it, and the room around them rippled. Suddenly, the starlight above the sarcophagus shimmered into a holographic projection. Dozens of alien warships orbiting a shattered planet, all marked with the same sigil, the burning eye. Great, Jalen muttered. Cultists. It's always cultists. Not cult, Rayshira corrected. Doctrine. The old kind. They call themselves the Inheritor's Chain. They believe no human should wield legacy tech, especially not this. She gestured behind him, and the chamber responded. The floor shifted. The core beneath the stasis chamber cracked open, revealing a starship cradle. An obsidian vessel, sleek as a predator's spine, rested in slumber. Its hull bore Roth's mark, but now it glowed with Jalen's DNA signature. The ship recognized him. Rayshira stepped beside him, her violet eyes unreadable. It's yours now. Everything he left. But inheritance is never just a gift. Jalen exhaled, low and sharp. What's the catch? Her voice dropped a note. The pact is not a possession. It is a promise. And promises, she said, walking slowly toward the cradle, have consequences. The ship stirred. Its engines hummed faintly to life, even without power routed to them. Rayshira placed a hand on its hull, and something passed between them, a surge of warmth, memory, recognition. Then, without turning, she said, There is a question you must answer, Jalen Ward. Shoot. Do you intend to run? He hesitated, because he had run before. From war. From command. From the guilt of surviving when better men hadn't. But this wasn't survival. This was inheritance. And it came with a woman who used to kneel to another, and now looked at him as if he might fail or save an entire civilization. No, Jalen said finally, voice quiet but solid. I intend to fly. Her eyes met his. And for the first time since waking, Rayshira bowed, not out of submission, but in recognition. Then the stars may yet remember your name. Above them, the ship lit its core. Somewhere far beyond, the chain took notice. And the hunt began. The obsidian starship rose from its cradle like a beast waking from hibernation. No engines, no thrusters, just gravity-disrupting resonance. It hovered, humming with quiet power, its surface rippling with lines of shifting alien script that hadn't been seen by human eyes in 1,000 years. Jalen didn't move at first. He felt the gravity field brushing his skin, the air vibrating around him like the breath of something alive. The ship wasn't just built. It was bred. Organic tech, fused with memory, keyed to Roth's lifeline, now transferred to him. Do I need a manual? He asked, trying to sound casual. Rayshira stepped beside him, her expression unreadable. She responds to intent, not instruction. Legacy vessels were not made to be flown. They are followed. Bonded. Right, he muttered. So don't piss her off. You would not survive that. The central ramp descended like a whisper. Inside, the ship's interior came into view. Curved corridors, soft-lit walls, surfaces like polished obsidian over veins of pulsating energy. No sharp angles. No visible control panels. Just presence. Jalen stepped forward, the floor recognizing his weight with a gentle pulse. He glanced back. "You coming?" Rayshira didn't answer. She was already moving, each step as precise as a ritual. She entered the vessel without hesitation, her hand brushing the inner wall like greeting an old friend. When she passed through the threshold, her armor shifted, light flickering across her skin, syncing with the ship. Jalen followed, ducking slightly as the ramp sealed behind them. Kess's voice pinged his wrist. "Whatever you just did, it lit up every scanner in the sector. My screens are fried. You've got 4 ships rerouting toward your location. At least one's military. Burn hard," he ordered. "Meet me on Tarsus if I don't ping back in 2 days." "Copy. Try not to get adopted by another ghost ship." The signal died. Rayshira had already reached the heart of the vessel, a central chamber where a large semi-organic console pulsed in midair, suspended by gravitational filaments. A throne grew from the floor, partially fused with the neural spine of the ship. She gestured. "Sit." Jalen raised an eyebrow. "That thing doesn't look comfortable." "It's not meant to be." He hesitated, then dropped into the seat. The moment his body made contact, the ship reacted. Lights surged through the walls. The vessel breathed. Not literally, but he felt something inhale him, his thoughts, his pain, his guilt, threading them into its memory. Visions hit him like thunder. A field of glass under twin suns. Roth standing over him, bleeding, grinning, whispering. This ship was never mine. It was always meant for the one who'd break the pattern. A scream. A woman's voice. Rayshira's voice. Then silence. When Jalen came back to himself, his fists were clenched, breath ragged. "You saw something," she said. He nodded. "Pieces. Memory fragments. Yours?" "Roth's." "Ours," she said softly. "The pack stores not just commands, but lives. When you bond with a legacy ship, you take on the ghosts of everyone who ever touched it." "Lovely. So I'm flying a haunted house." She didn't laugh. "Ghosts do not haunt. They guide." Suddenly, the ship tilted slightly, then corrected. "Tracking signatures inbound," Rayshira murmured. 2 of the chain. 1 rogue merc. 1. I don't recognize. Who don't the chain hire these days?" Jalen muttered, standing from the console. "Weapons." The ship responded before she could. Panels slid open. Armaments extended like growing bone, noiseless, elegant, and deadly. Each weapon tuned not by manual controls but by emotion, the ship fighting in sync with its pilot's instincts. "Do you know how to fly it?" she asked. Jalen gave her a sidelong glance. "I've piloted everything from trench flyers to quantum haulers. But this..." He placed his hands on the neural interface. "This one feels like it might fly me." Rayshira nodded once. "Then let it." The ship shuddered. Gravity inside inverted for a split second, and then they launched, a black dart through the silence of the void. Behind them, the chain's ships gave chase. Ahead of them, a dead galaxy waited to remember its name. The stars stretched into blades as the ship surged into sublight acceleration, cutting through the dark like a whispered threat. Jalen gritted his teeth. The acceleration wasn't painful, it was personal. The ship didn't just move, it bled through space-time, dragging his pulse with it. On the display before him, 4 contacts appeared, each marked in burning red. One by one, their call signs unfurled. Sorrow-class interceptor, chain origin. Fawn-class cutter, retrofitted. Unmarked vessel, unknown vector. And the last a relic. Jalen's eyes narrowed. "That last one, that's human tech. Obsolete Earth core design." Rayshira glanced up from her position beside the war table. Obsolete doesn't mean harmless. The chain is famous for repurposing ruin. As if on cue, the relic ship powered a disruptor coil, visible only by the soft red ripple it sent ahead, a whisper that could sever navigation links in lesser vessels. But not this one. The legacy ship absorbed the wave like mist over black glass. No disturbance. No flicker. Just quiet confidence. "This ship isn't flying," Jalen muttered. "It's remembering." Rayshira stepped forward, eyes distant. "She remembers fire. And betrayal. and promises kept across generations. He glanced at her. You talk like she's a person. I don't talk, she said. I honor. The first enemy ship fired. Kinetic slugs, crude by galactic standards, but fast enough to rip holes in merchant cruisers. The projectiles screamed toward them, but Jalen barely moved. He didn't have to. The ship already knew. Its body twisted, not turning, folding like muscle on instinct. Slugs passed harmlessly through the negative space it left behind. All right, Jalen whispered. Let's see how deep this bond goes. He reached into the console. Not literally, but something in his mind opened. A space. A tether. The ship responded like a living beast sensing a familiar rider. Weapons activated not by control sticks, but by desire. His thoughts sharpened, and the ship's systems followed. The first interceptor closed distance, trying to bracket their path with suppressive fire. Jalen let instinct guide him. The ship inverted, spinning through the hail of plasma with graceful contempt. With a mere pulse of thought, it sent back a blast, clean, silent, perfect. The interceptor vanished in a flash of light. The second ship veered off. Smart one, Jalen said. No, Rayshura replied. Scared one. A warning ping echoed through the ship. They're deploying a tether mine, she added. Jalen blinked. A what? A forced inheritance snare, she said calmly. It binds itself to the ship's memory threads, tries to rewrite ownership in real time. Jalen swore. That's possible? In theory, yes. If the current owner doubts the bond. The meaning hit him like a rail punch. The ship would only remain his if he believed it should. He took a breath. I didn't ask for this. But Roth trusted me. And you? He looked at Rayshura. You chose to follow me. She didn't nod. Didn't speak. She simply stepped beside him and placed a hand on his chest. The ship responded. The tether mine struck and dissolved. It didn't just fail. It rejected him as incompatible. Because the bond had deepened. The ship howled. Not audibly, but across enemy channels, projecting an ancient signal that made two of the hostile vessels veer away. One tried to fire and exploded, self-destructing as if punished by its own systems. Jalen wiped sweat from his brow. What the hell did we just do? You accepted, Rayshura said softly. And she did too. The final ship, the human relic, hung back now. Observing. Whoever that is, Jalen muttered, they're not chain. Not fully. Agreed, Rayshura said. But they are watching. And in this quadrant, watchers are rarely silent for long. A soft ping echoed. Then a transmission. No video. No audio. Just text. You fly with ghosts, Jalen warned. Let's see if you remember what it costs. Jalen stared at it. They know my name. Rayshura's voice dropped an octave. Then they know what you're becoming. The obsidian ship turned, silent as a secret. And the void stared back. The stars closed in again, slower this time, as if the void itself were listening. Inside the ship, the atmosphere shifted. The console lights dimmed to a low amber glow, the air cooler now, tinged with something old. Not age memory. The kind of presence that made your skin remember someone else's past. Jalen sat quietly, his hands still on the console. They knew my name, he said again, more to himself than Rayshura. She stood at the edge of the command platform, arms crossed, face unreadable. It's not a common one out here. He didn't answer right away. The message still pulsed softly on the console. You fly with ghosts, Jalen warned. Let's see if you remember what it costs. Do you know what that means? He asked finally. I know what it feels like, she said. To carry a name that opens doors and paints targets. The ship had entered a slow drift, cruising on residual momentum while its systems cooled. Outside, stars winked like knowing eyes. No pursuit. Not yet. But silence didn't mean safety. He leaned back in the throne seat, exhaling. The legacy Roth left me, this ship, this bond, it's not just power, is it? It's a burden. Rayshura stepped closer, her voice low. All legacies are burdens. But this one remembers what was stolen. The console shifted, responding to her words. A projection bloomed into view. Not stars, but a map. Old fractured. Systems erased. Paths broken. In its center, an outline, a region marked by a dark spiral. The Shatter Zone, she said. He frowned. That's where the last war began, right? No. That's where we lost. A long pause. The spiral pulsed, then zoomed. A small planet blinked red. Next to it, a label, only visible for a moment. Fun's grave. What's that? He asked. Rayshira didn't answer at first. Her eyes had gone distant, haunted. It was the final test site of the Pack's convergence tech. Before the fall, before we scattered, Jalen turned to her. And Roth wanted me to see it. He wanted you to reclaim it. A silence hung between them, dense as gravity. Then the ship moved on its own. Are you flying us? Jalen asked. No, Rayshira said. You are. He blinked. The navigation path had shifted. Destination locked, Fun's grave. The ship was responding not to commands, but to intent. His thoughts, his hesitation, his curiosity, they were now navigational vectors. So what's there? He asked. A weapon? A message? Rayshira tilted her head. A choice. He raised an eyebrow. That's vague even for you. The last time the Pack tried to alter fate, we built something at Fun's grave. Something dangerous enough that even our enemies refused to touch it after we fell. Now he understood her silence. This wasn't a detour. This was an inheritance test. He sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. All right. Guess we're going to Fun's grave. The ship chirped, no purred, as if pleased. That's not creepy at all, he muttered. Rayshira smirked. She likes decisive men. Noted, he said dryly. The stars ahead shifted. The ship accelerated. And behind them, the Watcher's ship, the relic, vanished from scanners. Not gone. Just waiting. Fun's grave wasn't a planet anymore. It was a scar. As the ship dropped from FTL, the scene unfolded like a silent scream. Debris fields stretching for thousands of kilometers, orbiting a core of cracked stone and frozen atmosphere. Half a world remained, its jagged edge glowing faintly with radiation. The other half had been vaporized, ripped from history by forces that defied language. The legacy ship drifted in quietly, systems dimmed to stealth protocols without Jalen needing to command it. It felt the tension. It remembered this place too. Rayshira stood at the viewport, arms folded across her chest, expression unreadable. That used to be a moon, she said, nodding to a shattered arc of silver stone hanging like a broken crown above the ruin. And that used to be a university, one of the Pack's last. Jalen stared in silence. He hadn't expected grief. Not his own. Not hers. But it hung in the air, quiet, unfinished. Like a song someone forgot to sing. This place was the first to fall, she said, voice softer now. Before the rebellion. Before the betrayals. It was where they built the seed. Jalen turned slowly. The seed. The heart of the convergence technology. Not a weapon. Not exactly. She paused. It was a translator. A memory soul lattice. Designed to unify species through shared experience. But it required hosts, sentients willing to upload everything they were. Voluntarily? He asked. Mostly. That word hit harder than any kinetic blast. She continued. The chain couldn't control it. So they destroyed it. Jalen stepped forward. And Roth wanted me to come here. Why? The ship answered. Not with words, but with light. The console lit up with a new interface, one Jalen hadn't seen before. It pulsed with warm amber threads, not unlike neural pathways. Touch it, Rayshira whispered. He hesitated, then reached out. The moment his skin met the interface, everything shifted. Images slammed into his mind. Flickers of battles he never fought. Memories not his. Voices, alien, human, layered like waves crashing over one another. He staggered back but didn't let go. He saw Roth, young, idealistic, standing in this very place before the fall. He saw Rayshira, her armor gleaming, her eyes wild with defiance, standing over a child's body. Her own. Her sister's. Then he saw the seed. Or what was left of it. Buried deep in the ruins, pulsing like a dying star, but still alive. Still waiting. The visions faded. Jalen gasped for breath, falling into the command chair. You all right? Rayshira asked, kneeling beside him. He nodded slowly. The seed's still here. She didn't look surprised. Of course it is. This ship wouldn't have brought us otherwise. Another pause. You said it needed hosts. She met his eyes. It needs one. One with memory. With empathy. With moral strength. Jalen swallowed. And what happens to me if I become that host? Her expression didn't change. but her voice broke slightly. You stop being just you. A long silence followed. Then he stood, steadier now, and said, Take me there. She nodded once. No hesitation. No tears. Just resolve. The ship began its descent, weaving through debris like a ghost slipping through the wreckage of its own past. And beneath it all, beneath the shattered stone and broken metal, something waited. Something old. Something that remembered. The descent felt like falling through history. Jalen stood near the forward viewport as the ship spiraled down into the hollow of Fun's grave. The crater, once a living city, was now a cathedral of ruin. Crushed towers jutted out like broken teeth, half submerged in ice and irradiated ash. The wind outside howled with static-charged dust, and strange blue flashes danced between antennae that no longer transmitted. It's buried beneath the old convergence spire, Rayshira said, her eyes scanning the ancient terrain with the intensity of a soldier revisiting a battlefield. And the radiation? Jalen asked. She smirked, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. This ship was built for inheritance missions. She'll keep you alive. Long enough. Comforting. They touched down near what looked like a collapsed atrium, a circle of scorched columns and twisted metal overgrown with black vines that shouldn't have survived 1,000 years of decay. As they stepped out, the atmosphere suit clung to Jalen's body with surprising comfort. The air outside wasn't breathable, not without nanofiltering, but the suit responded to his heart rate and blood chemistry like a second skin. Rayshira wore no suit, just her armor, glowing softly with shielded light. He watched as she stepped onto the broken stone like she'd done it 100 times before. You've been here before, he said. She nodded once. Years ago, when I was still bound. The council sent me to verify the seed was dead. I told them it was. But it wasn't. No, she said, voice low. It called to me. Jalen felt the hum now too. Faint, like pressure behind the ears. A sense of being watched, but not judged. Just seen. They passed through fallen archways and into the heart of the ruin. As they descended into the convergence chamber, carvings glowed faintly on the walls, like memories caught in stone. Aliens of every kind, hands interlocked, eyes closed in meditation, data streaming from their chests into the seed at the center. The seed itself floated above a broken pedestal, cracked but whole, a sphere of translucent alloy etched with pulsing circuits that breathed in rhythm with the room. It looked alive. And lonely. Jalen approached it slowly. What happens now? Rayshira didn't move. This is your legacy. Only you can decide. He looked back at her. What if I say no? She blinked, the briefest pause. Then it waits for another. That stung more than it should have. Would that make you angry? He asked. No, she said. But it would break something inside me. The honesty in her voice landed like a blade without edge. He turned back to the seed. The hum intensified as he drew near, not in threat, but in hope. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't a weapon. It was a memory arc. And it wanted to share. Not just knowledge. Perspective. Emotion. Joy. Grief. The long-lost context behind every war and every peace treaty. It was a way to understand each other. But to carry it, Jalen exhaled. He placed both hands on the seed. And it opened. Not physically, but within his mind. He wasn't standing in a ruin anymore. He was standing in a memory. And Rayshira, still armored, still distant, watched from the edge, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Not awe, not fear, recognition, because she'd seen this once before, and she had survived it. Now it was his turn. It begins like drowning. The seed unfolds within Jalen, not as data, but as presence. Thoughts, sensations, memories not his own surge through his nervous system. His vision blurs, but not from pain. There's no agony here, only the weight of everything. 1,000,000 lifetimes bloom behind his eyes. He sees children born under violet suns, their first steps recorded in songs passed down across stars. He feels the grief of a crystalline species that lost its last elder to entropy. He stands at the edge of a collapsing sun, holding hands with a creature made entirely of light, mourning the loss of a civilization that chose silence over surrender. The flood is endless. But Jalen doesn't break. Instead, he begins to understand. Because in all the differences, forms, languages, biology, one thread remains constant: memory. The act of holding on, of passing on, of trying to mean something. He begins to grasp what the seed truly is. Not a database. A mirror. One that reflects every life it's touched, not in facts, but in feeling. And through that, bridges are built. Time loses shape. He doesn't know how long he's been inside when the presence shifts. One memory rises above the rest, clearer than the others. Personal. It's not his. It's hers. He stands in a war zone, ashen skies overhead, buildings crumbling in the distance. A young Rayshira kneels beside a fallen elder, her glowing skin dimmed with soot, her violet eyes wild with helplessness. The elder gasps, raising a hand. Don't let them erase what we were. I won't, Rayshira whispers. I swear it. And then darkness. Jalen's breath hitches as he realizes. This was the moment she was chosen. The moment her bond to Roth was sealed. Not by politics. By grief. Suddenly, the memory shifts again. Now Rayshira stands before the Council of Chains, cold, golden-robed, faceless beneath polished masks. They offer her power, legacy, immortality. But only if she forgets. Only if she severs that memory. She kneels. And it's done. The seed shudders inside Jalen. Because that memory isn't hers anymore. It's his now. He carries it. And by doing so, he reawakens something she thought she'd lost. The seed retreats slowly, like a tide. Jalen gasps and opens his eyes. The chamber is still. The air crackles faintly. Rayshira watches him, unmoving, but something in her posture has changed. He stands a little shakier than before. It's done, he says. She tilts her head. What did it show you? Everything, he whispers. But more than that, it trusted me. With your memory. Her face flickers. Not anger. Not fear. But vulnerability. That memory was supposed to be mine alone, she says softly. You gave it away, Jalen replies. No. I buried it. Roth made me forget who I was so I could serve. Jalen steps closer. Then let me remind you. He lifts a hand and places 2 fingers gently on her temple. No force. Just invitation. And to his surprise, no resistance. She closes her eyes. And remembers. The wind in her lungs as she ran toward the burning archive. The elder's fading warmth. The oath she swore with a voice shaking but defiant. And for a moment, her eyes well with something she hasn't allowed in decades. Tears. Not weakness. Release. I was never meant to forget, she says, voice breaking. No one is, Jalen replies. Behind them, the seed pulses once and goes still. Its duty fulfilled. It doesn't need a host anymore. It needed a witness. And now it has 2. The walk back to the ship is quieter than before. The wind has died. The ash no longer swirls so violently. Even the haunted ruins of Fun's grave seem softer somehow. As if the seed's awakening had not only lit up memory, but calmed a wound carved into the land itself. Rayshira walks a step behind Jalen, not out of protocol, but thoughtfulness. She keeps looking at her gloved hand, flexing her fingers like they no longer belong to her. He doesn't rush her. He understands now. It's not just about carrying alien knowledge. It's about returning what was taken. Sometimes that's a name. Sometimes a memory. Sometimes yourself. When they reach the boarding ramp, she finally speaks. You shouldn't have seen that memory. You mean the promise? She nods. Jalen turns to her. It wasn't weakness. It was the reason you were chosen. I broke that promise. No, he says gently. You survived it. That's what makes it matter. She looks at him, eyes glowing faintly. For the first time, she doesn't look like an unshakable warrior. She looks like a woman remembering how to feel. Inside the ship, systems come alive with their return. But something's different. The ship recognizes Jalen now. Panels open before he asks. Lights adjust to his mood. The chair molds to his spine before he sits. The ship knows its new inheritor, and it welcomes him like a long-lost son. Rayshira notices, but says nothing. Instead, she watches him with something more complex than awe. More than duty. More than fear. You've bonded, she says at last. Not just with the seed. With the ship. With me. Jalen gives her a look. Wasn't that the plan? She hesitates. The council never intended you to bond. He frowns. Then why send me? They didn't. The silence crackles. I did. Now it's Jalen's turn to step back. You lied. I broke orders, she corrects. The council wanted a ceremonial inheritor. Someone politically convenient. But Roth's seed wouldn't awaken for them. It kept rejecting every chosen one. I remembered what the elder said, what they made me forget. The seed responds to empathy, not bloodlines. So you found me. Not just you, she says, walking slowly toward him. You felt like memory. You acted like meaning. You reminded me of who I was. And I gambled everything on the chance that the seed would feel it too. He wants to be angry, but he's not. Instead, he feels like something long dormant is rising inside him. Not fire, not vengeance, something quieter. Purpose. Jalen steps toward her, eyes steady. And now, Rayshira says, you have the inheritance, which means they'll come for you. He doesn't flinch. Then we let them. You don't understand. The council doesn't just want the ship. They fear it. The seed holds the memories of every alliance they've betrayed, every planet they erased, every deal rewritten in blood. If word gets out that a human holds it, they'll kill to bury it. She nods. Jalen lets out a breath. Then we tell the story louder than they can erase it. Rayshira tilts her head just slightly. And if that story gets you killed, Jalen smiles. Then let it be a story worth dying for. The ship vibrates beneath their feet, engines warming. Outside, the ruins of Fun's grave vanish beneath the rising mist. But inside the cockpit, inside this living legacy, two survivors stare toward a horizon they no longer fear. One was built to forget, the other born to remember. Together they fly. The stars blur into long streaks as the ship enters slipstream. Outside the hull, space folds and bends like a ribbon dipped in oil. Light sloshes sideways, and time ticks differently. It's beautiful in the way old churches are beautiful. Too vast, too still, too full of memory. Jalen watches from the pilot's seat, arms crossed, jaw clenched. His reflection flickers in the glass, ghost-like. Somewhere deep in the ship, the seed pulses softly. Not invasive anymore, more like a heartbeat beneath the floorboards. Rayshira stands behind him, silent. You've changed, she says. He doesn't answer right away. Then, how? You sit like someone who's been listened to. He lets that settle. They drift for a while, neither speaking. The stars hum. Then Rayshira sits in the co-pilot's chair. She leans forward, pulls up a translucent map from the console, and flicks through a dozen coordinates, each flashing red. Every one of these systems has something in common, she murmurs. Each one held an archive node linked to Roth's seed. And each one's been sanitized. Jalen raises an eyebrow. Sanitized? Glass planets. Broken moons. Dead cultures with no record of what happened. The council calls it preservation. I call it erasure. He swipes to pause the display. They destroyed everything? Everything that didn't fit the narrative. Jalen leans back. Then the seed is the only thing left with proof. Rayshira nods. And now you carry it. A long pause. Then she asks more softly, why haven't you asked me to leave? Because I don't want you to. She studies him. Even after everything? You remembered who you were, Rayshira. You chose to disobey them. That matters. And if I hadn't, then we wouldn't be here. Another silence, heavier. Then a sudden chime, sharp, urgent. Jalen checks the console. A beacon. Someone's hailing them. Coordinates auto-populate. Who is it? Rayshira asks. He frowns. It's old. Encrypted in Roth's signature. Rayshira leans closer. Impossible. Roth's dead. But not his allies. Jalen taps a control. A flickering figure appears, fuzzy, heavily distorted, but unmistakably alien. Dark robes. Fractal pupils. 6 slender fingers pressed together. If this message has reached you, the voice says, then the seed has awakened, and the war begins again. I am Kale of the Scribes. We were Roth's last surviving witnesses. Come to us. The coordinates are burned into the code. Hurry. The council hunts us all. The message ends. The cockpit goes quiet. Jalen and Rayshira stare at the spot where the ghost vanished. What do you think? He asks. Rayshira doesn't blink. I think we found the next thread in the story. And then just beneath her breath, and maybe the rest of my memory. Jalen leans forward, punches the course. The stars shift again. Behind them, 1,000 secrets scream for silence. Ahead, a dying star flickers, one last lighthouse before the abyss. Jalen smiles. Let's wake the dead. You emerge from slipstream into a graveyard of machines. Once it might have been a city, an orbital archive, maybe. Now it's debris. Towers split like bones, satellites frozen mid-collapse, transmission dishes cracked open like dying flowers. There's no motion here. No signs of life. Just memory. Jalen slows the ship, scanning. It's here. Somewhere. Rayshira leans over the console, her eyes flickering with data feed light. That signal came from inside the wreck. Deep core. You ever been here before? She shakes her head. This place was sealed off after Roth's death. Red listed. No council ship dares orbit. Then we're definitely in the right place. A docking light flickers to life. Dim, ancient, but persistent. Jalen and Rayshira exchange a glance. He pilots in close. Their ship docks with the shattered archive, hull aligning with the magnetic clamp. The airlock hisses open with a reluctant groan, as if the station itself were sighing awake after a long, guilty sleep. Inside, everything is shadows and silence. Their boots clink on metal grates. Old banners hang limp from the ceiling, marked with glyphs Jalen doesn't recognize, but Rayshira does. She brushes one with her fingers. The House of Scribes, she whispers. They kept histories outside of state control. Roth protected them, until the council declared them heretics. Jalen runs a light along a fractured wall. Charred. Scarred. Looks like someone didn't like what they were preserving. They were archiving the truth. He turns, and truth scares people more than war. Deeper into the corridor, they find a sealed vault. The door is shaped like a spiral galaxy, rings of alien metal fitted with complex locks. But when Jalen steps forward, the seed pulses, warm, quiet, and the vault responds. The spiral clicks. The doors unfurl like petals. A faint blue light glows within, and someone is waiting. A figure, motionless, kneeling before an old console. They look almost human, but their skin is crystalline, veins glowing with slow pulses of light. A translucent membrane wraps their head like a crown of glass. They don't move. Rayshira approaches first, slowly, cautiously. She's still alive, she murmurs. Stasis field. Cryo-wrapped memories. The woman's eyes flutter open. Her voice emerges like cracked porcelain. You carry Roth's seed. Jalen steps forward. Who are you? I am Archivist Sale, keeper of Roth's final testimony. We preserved it here, waiting for you. Rayshira frowns. How did you know he'd choose someone, let alone a human? Sale smiles, weak but certain. Because Roth knew he would die, and he knew who would rise next. The seed doesn't choose by blood. It chooses by pain remembered, and purpose reclaimed. She gestures to a glowing note on the console. His last confession. The secret the council buried. The truth that started everything. Jalen hesitates. Once you hear it, Sale warns, you will not be able to unknow it. It will make enemies of allies. It will put a target on every step you take. Rayshira rests a hand on Jalen's arm. You don't have to, but he already knows the answer. I need to know. He touches the console, and Roth's voice rises from the past. Not as a warlord, but as a man. Conflicted, afraid, determined. What he hears will unravel empires and redefine the meaning of inheritance. Roth's voice unfurls like smoke, a whisper stretched across time. If you're hearing this, he begins, then I'm dead. And that means my war failed, or worse, it succeeded in the wrong hands. Jalen stands frozen, Rayshira at his side, the pale glow of the console casting long shadows on their faces. I wasn't born a rebel, Roth says. I was born into the council's cradle, raised on obedience. I believed in their order, until I was sent to oversee the purification of a world called Nevera. The voice trembles slightly, regret soaked in steel. Nevera was supposed to be non-compliant, dangerous, full of sympathizers. But when I landed, I found children painting galaxies on walls. I found teachers writing poems in the sand. I found people living, not resisting, not armed, just remembering how to be whole. Jalen feels something twist inside him. I gave the order anyway, Roth confesses, because that's what legacy meant. It meant obedience. It meant killing for peace. I watched the sky turn red, and something in me cracked. The recording shifts, flickers. In that moment, I stopped being Roth of the council. I became Roth of memory. I defected. I stole what they feared, the truth. Archives, testimonies, Seeds. You carry one of them now. Jalen looks down at the faint warmth pulsing from his ribs. You were never meant to be a warrior. You were meant to remember. To feel what the council buried. To awaken it. A pause. Then a low, final whisper. Legacy isn't blood. It's choice. And I chose to disobey. If you're ready to finish what I began, go to the world that doesn't exist. The one they erased. Evis. Rayshira's breath catches. That world's a myth. Sale shakes her head. It's not. It was Roth's sanctuary. It held the original genomes, the ancestral codes of dozens of extinct species. And now, Sale rises shakily to her feet. Now it holds the last seed the council couldn't burn. But they'll be watching. If you go there, you declare war. Not just with weapons, but with meaning. Jalen's voice is quiet. What do you think Roth wanted me to do? Sale's eyes glow with inner frost. He wanted you to remember, and then choose. Rayshira moves beside Jalen, gaze steady. We go to Evis. He meets her eyes. Even if it kills us? She smiles just faintly. Especially if it saves something first. Behind them, Roth's recording begins to dissolve, particle by particle, into the air. Not a warning. Not a threat, but a promise. The seed inside Jalen flares once, and begins to sing. The journey to Evis is silent. Not out of fear, but reverence. Jalen watches stars trail past the viewport, his mind echoing with Roth's voice, with Sale's warnings, with Ray's question. Even if it kills us? There's no answer. Only gravity pulling them forward. Evis doesn't appear on any maps. The council scrubbed its records clean, deleted not just coordinates, but gravitational traces, background radiation, even navigational memory. It exists only as myth, legend, and now, the final beacon burned into Roth's seed. Rayshira configures the jump. No calibration. No return. The ship drops from slipstream and into shadow. They arrive in orbit around a sunless world. A dead planet, black as obsidian, with atmospheric storms so dense they bend light inward. No stars shine here. No satellites broadcast. Yet, it's there, Rayshira whispers, pointing to the dark. Jalen narrows his eyes. At first, he sees nothing. Then something shifts. A shape, vast and coiled, emerges beneath the clouds. Not a city. Not a fortress. A living structure. Grown, not built. Roots of alloy and bone spiral across the planet's surface, forming a single wordless cathedral. A library sculpted by ancient hands and forgotten grief. They descend. Atmosphere screams past the hull like memory tearing loose. Lightning crackles purple and green. The seed hums louder, like a tuning fork against his chest. They land in a chamber of stone and silver. The walls are covered in names, millions, maybe billions, etched in concentric rings, unreadable but somehow familiar. This was a sanctuary, Rayshira says softly. Before the war. Before Roth. She touches one of the walls. The surface ripples. A doorway opens. Inside is a vast archive, suspended starlight, memory strands glowing like constellations, information alive. Not data. Emotion. Whole lifetimes encoded as sensation, able to be felt instead of read. Jalen steps inside and nearly collapses. Memories flood through him. He sees a father holding his son before a storm. A soldier refusing to fire on an enemy who sings. A machine choosing not to replicate, simply because it wanted to end. Each fragment strikes him not as foreign, but true. As if he's known these feelings all along, just buried beneath fear, beneath protocol, beneath civilization. Rayshira gasps beside him. This is what the council tried to destroy, she murmurs. Not just knowledge, but empathy. A sound behind them. Not mechanical. Not human. Movement. Something wakes in the heart of the archive. A guardian. Its shape defies anatomy, like a sphere unfolding into wings, then collapsing into something bipedal and ancient. It speaks without sound. You carry what was meant to die. Jalen steadies himself. Then maybe it's time it lived again. The being approaches, slowly, radiating pressure more than presence. Rayshira steps in front of Jalen. If you harm him, I'll destroy this place. But the guardian doesn't attack. It kneels. You are the one Roth dreamed of. And then it says what neither expected. But dreams must be earned. The archive trembles. Doors open. Lights bloom. Trials begin. You step into the trial chamber. Not a room, but a memory living, breathing, shaped around you like skin turned inside out. The Guardian does not follow. Rayshira waits just beyond the archway, her silhouette ghost-like against the swirl of light. Inside, you're alone. Not just in space, but in time. The room becomes a replica of Earth. Not the Earth that is, but the Earth that was verdant, scarred, aching. The sky ripples above a cracked cityscape. You stand on a battlefield. It's not made of guns or armor or drones, but of questions. Around you rise holograms of yourself. One wears council robes, pristine and cold. Another is in rags, a survivor burning with vengeance. A third holds a child, your child, weeping beneath a shattered moon. They speak in unison. What does it mean to inherit a future? The seed pulses in your chest, and the scene fractures. Now you're back on Evis, but it's burning. Council ships fire from orbit. Rayshira lies wounded at your feet, eyes locked on yours, defiant even in pain. Above, a council commander's voice echoes. Give up the seed. No one has to die. The trial presses in. This is no simulation. Every choice you make here reshapes there. You could surrender. Walk away. Let someone stronger fight tomorrow. Or you could run. Hide the truth, bury the archive, become a myth like Roth, dying in silence. Or you could stand. With no army. No weapons. Only the seed's memory and your will. You draw a breath. And say, come down here and take it yourself. The archive pulses in response. Not approval. Recognition. The holograms vanish. The burning sky fades. You're back in the central chamber, Rayshira beside you, gripping your arm. You were gone, she whispers. For hours. You blink. For you, it was minutes. The Guardian steps forward once more. You remember. You nod. Then it is time, it says, to give back. The floor beneath you begins to open. A sphere rises from below, glass-like, humming, containing the last unactivated seed. The Guardian bows. This one is not for you. It is for all of them. You understand instantly. This seed will awaken the others. Not through war, but through recognition. It's not a weapon. It's a mirror. The final legacy is not power. It's truth made impossible to ignore. You take the sphere in both hands, and the galaxy begins to shift. The activation is not instant. It unfolds, like breath drawn across stars. You and Rayshira return to the surface, the sphere between you, a pulse with no rhythm, a light without shadow, a memory with no owner and yet belonging to all. Above Evis, the void stirs. First silence, then signals. Encrypted frequencies begin to fail. Council ships orbiting distant systems receive fragments, unfinished songs, smells of oceans no longer found, feelings of lives never lived. The sphere speaks to everyone, not in words, but in reminders. Some break down in tears. Others collapse in terror. A few claw at their heads, trying to reject what they feel. But most, they remember. Children once trained as enforcers pause mid-march and look to the sky. Archivists who once erased dissent now sit before blank screens, weeping. Machines programmed to surveil begin to sing. The Council's power was never built on technology. It was built on forgetting. You broke that. You didn't destroy their ships. You made their crews remember the people they were before obedience. Back on Evis, the Guardian fades. Its task fulfilled. Rayshira watches it vanish with a hand pressed to her chest. You whisper to her, "Was that the last one?" "No," she replies. "Just the first to finish." The planet begins to tremble, but not from collapse. From growth. Beneath your feet, the root architecture of the archive spreads, slowly, silently, toward the stars. Seeds awaken across the galaxy. Not just in vaults, but in people. You receive a final transmission, anonymous, but unmistakable in tone. Roth's voice. Older. Wiser. Legacy isn't about what we leave behind. It's about who dares to carry it forward. He pauses. I carried it as far as I could. Now it's yours. Make them feel again. Rayshira steps beside you. Her hand finds yours. Together, you watch the stars blink back to life, not as systems to conquer, but as hearts beginning to beat again. Behind you, the archive sings. Ahead, the galaxy opens, not with fear, but with possibility. You don't smile, but you feel something even deeper. And now, as the stars drift softly outside the viewport, and the last echoes of memory fade into silence, your breathing begins to slow. The ship hums gently beneath your fingertips. Rayshira sleeps beside you, one arm draped across her chest, her violet eyes closed, her breathing even. Outside, the archive of Evis glows faintly on the dead world below, no longer lifeless, no longer forgotten. You remember the names etched into its walls, the ones you couldn't read but felt anyway. Each one like a pebble dropped into a quiet pool, rippling outward until it touched something true inside you. In the distance, council beacons flicker and go dark. Not from war, but from waking. The galaxy will never be the same again. Not because of destruction, but because of remembrance. You lean back into the seat, and the hum of the engines becomes a lullaby. Your hands unclench. Your breath eases. And something ancient, something human, begins to settle inside you, like gravity after freefall. You survived. More than that, you remembered. The stars outside swirl, slow and soft, like embers in a great dark sea. And somewhere, on a world not yet mapped, under a sky no one has named, a child will grow up unafraid of memory. Because of you. So now, close your eyes. Let the story go quiet. Let the galaxy turn. You've done enough for today. You've carried the seed of something more, something not even time can erase. Rest now, traveler. The light is returning. Sleep well.